Oh, hi there, friends. You caught me before a quick game of 1-2 switch. That's enough for one lifetime.
Mark, stop playing Viva Pinata. We got a YouTube video to make.
Ah, geez, you're totally right. We haven't done a YouTube video in like 10 years. What should it be about, though?
Well, what's like your favorite thing on the planet?
Video games.
Let's go make a video about your top 10 favorites. People love top 10 lists.
It's a good idea. If I do a video on my favorite video games, then I can really let people know what I'm into. Plus, nobody's done a video on my favorites.
Ah, crap. We're going to be talking about my top 10 favorite video games of all time. And yes, I'm aware that every single gaming YouTuber has done a video like this at some point, but I really want to talk about my favorite video games, and since we want to move the channel in a more gaming in general direction, I figured this would be a good place to start. Now, this isn't meant to be a perfect list. I'm sure somebody out there is going to leave a comment that makes me say, "Ah, crap, how can I forget Tonic Trouble on the Nintendo 64? But these are games that, thinking back, are still some of my absolute favorites. These games not only stand the test of time, but are, in my opinion, still great games today. Each and every single one of these games had me doing this at some point.
Sit down, shut up, and play these.
Dude, where's Tonic Trouble?
Ah, frick.
Scrub?
So last thing before we start, I'm also doing my best to make sure that none of these games on this list are mentioned in any of the other lists I want to make. And here they are. Got all that great, let's get started. Number 10. Rock Band. Rock Band was, and still is, one of my favorite rhythm game franchises. Being able to play some of your favorite rock hits on whatever instrument you want is awesome. This game honestly inspired me to form my first band way back in high school. While that band didn't work out, I did end up playing in another rock band for 5 years almost professionally. We put out an EP, a full-length album, a single, and even 3 music videos while I was still with the band. Here's a link to those music videos. Sorry about that, I had a shameless plug caught in my throat. Anyway, while I'm personally most fond of Rock Band 2, I do recognize Rock Band 4 as the most mechanically sound in the series. It's just a shame that it seems that the series is starting to die out again after the revival in 2015. When they're only releasing 1 or 2 DLC songs a week, it doesn't bode well for the series as a whole. Number 9, One Piece Unlimited Adventure. Just hear me out, please don't go anywhere. Yeah, I know, an anime game. I can hear you rolling your eyes through the screen. Don't judge me, okay? It's One Piece. Relax. One Piece is easily my favorite Japanese media. I've been reading the One Piece manga religiously since it started serialization in the US all the way back in 2002. There's a reason that One Piece is still hugely popular in Japan, and that's because it perfectly captures the sense of adventure that a lot of people have been looking for. Every island is wildly different from the last. Every single character is just full of life and creativity. One Piece is seriously one of the most imaginative and fun series I've ever had the pleasure of reading throughout my entire life. And Unlimited Adventure is the absolute perfect love letter to fans of the series. While it might be a little bit outdated in terms of the story placement by today's standards, the game absolutely captured what One Piece is all about. You got to explore an island filled with characters from the series, collect materials to craft stronger attacks and cool costumes, and the game was just plain fun to play. While most of the One Piece games that come out are fighting games, there were a few other adventure-style games as well. Unlimited Cruise, the direct sequel to Unlimited Adventure, unfortunately never came to the US. It was only released in Europe and Asian markets. I never had the pleasure of playing these two, but luckily a personal friend of mine has recently bought them for my birthday. Shout out to Henry. Mwah, I love you. So I'll certainly be playing these in the near future. However, later games in the series, such as Unlimited World Red and World Seeker, just couldn't capture the same magic. Unlimited World Red had huge worlds, but they were completely empty. The characters wouldn't even pop into existence until you were basically fighting them, which just made the entire world feel dead. While World Seeker, the most recent game in the One Piece franchise, was better, it simply just didn't click in the same way. It still felt like you were just going through the motions and on rails versus the freedom of Unlimited Adventure. So with that said, I still have to say Unlimited Adventure is the best of the series. While Unlimited Cruise is quite close to Unlimited Adventure, I can't really say one way or the other if it's better until I play it. The truest spirit of One Piece is captured in Unlimited Adventure, and that's why it's one of my favorite games of all time. Number 8, The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. That's right, I said it. Skyrim is simply not the best Elder Scrolls game, and it's not the best game of all time either. And there go my Twitter followers. Now, I might be a little bit biased because Oblivion was my first Elder Scrolls game, but I still feel that Oblivion had something that Skyrim just didn't: variety. Skyrim, while still a great game, just feels entirely like you're out in one part of the world. Oblivion, on the other hand, lets the world of the Elder Scrolls shine by allowing you to explore so many different areas. From the snowy mountains of Geralt to the massive Imperial City, all the way to the wacky shores of the Shivering Isles, Oblivion showed me how a game world is supposed to feel. Alive and vibrant, not frozen in dragon. Oblivion was the first game in which I felt that no matter where I went or what I was doing, the world was huge and alive, and you will literally never know what you're going to find right over the next hill. Number 7, Star Fox 64. And I guess Star Fox 64 3D. I guess they're the same game, pretty much. Yeah. Now, before you get on my case about nostalgia goggles, I first want to say, no, you! Star Fox 64 still holds up today. This was originally going to be on my most nostalgic games of all time list, but I recently went and played around and it's still amazing. Almost infinite replayability, character out the wazoo, and just pure, plain fun. One of my most fond childhood memories was trying to discover how to get to each planet through the game's multiple secret paths. Star Fox 64 has a branching level structure. Depending on how you do in each level, or if you complete the secret objectives, will determine if you go through the regular course or if you go to the secret, more difficult course. They don't tell you what these secret objectives are, obviously, but when you find them, it feels like you discovered it. It feels like you did something above and beyond, and for that, you're rewarded with a more interesting level. Because of this branching structure, it makes you want to play the game multiple times over. You want to see all the planets. You want to learn how to access each of these. You want to find the secrets, and that's what's so special about it. You genuinely want these things. You don't want them because the game tells you you want them. You want them because you want them. Have I said want enough yet? Is this even a word anymore? Want. Is this bit old? Sure is. I want to move on from this. All right, let's move on. Even though Star Fox 64 is over in just over an hour, the many different routes you can take makes almost every single playthrough feel just as exciting as the first time. They remade Star Fox 64 for the 3DS back in 2011, and the updated graphics did wonders to keep this game feeling fresh, even after all these years. To this day, I still get cravings to go play a round or two of Star Fox 64, just out of the blue, and when I do, I always have a good time, regardless of the fact that this game originally came out in '97. Number 6, Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus was the first game to ever make me see games as art. The entire game is a series of boss fights, with the only thing in between traveling between them, and honestly, it makes for an amazing time the entire way through. Every Colossus is unique and interesting and different from the last, and after each one you ask yourself, why? But then also, what's next? There's just something magical about this game that makes you want to continue to keep playing and see what the next Colossus is. What is the next challenge that this game is going to throw at you? And it never disappoints. Shadow of the Colossus has been remade and remastered a few times over the years, but it just goes to show that the game itself is a masterpiece. There's no need to change the controls or the gameplay because they're already exactly where they need to be. Every action is meant to feel like a dedicated decision. Every stab is meant to feel meaningful. It just all comes together to create an experience that truly portrays the weight of not only your actions, but your choices as well. Don't you dare ask me about The Last Guardian though. That's another video. We're not talking about that today. Shut up. Stop it. No, we're not talking about Last Guardian. I don't want to get in a bad mood. We're going next game, please. Mark, next game. Number 5, Pokemon as a series. That's right, most of them. Do I even need to talk about how great Pokemon is? While the recent games have admittedly been on a decline, the series as a whole is still one of my favorites. There's just something magical about going out, capturing, and training your favorite creatures, and it's always a delight to see what the Pokemon Company will come up with next. While there's been a lot of criticism over some of the design choices lately, I'm looking at you, Trubbish, I still feel that the series as a whole is fantastic. There's honestly something for everyone with Pokemon, whether you're a hardcore trainer who wants to be the very best, or if you just want to collect your favorites. Pokemon truly does cater to every player, unless, of course, your favorite is eggs. Get out of here! Go! You're not a Pokemon! Eggs are not Pokemon! Come Come on. I'll make an omelet out of you. Just go. You think I'm not kidding? I'll do it. Yeah, that's right. Roll away. No, don't come back. Roll away. Boy, it's going to be a nightmare to edit. To be fair, I think putting the whole series on here is a little bit odd, simply because there's a Pokemon game that's on my top 10 worst games of all time list, but I also have a game on the top 10 most nostalgic games of all time list, so maybe it washes out. But look, the series as a whole is so good that one bad title isn't enough to remove the series from my heart. It's just that great, okay? It's just that good. If you made me pick my favorite Pokemon games, I would probably say Ruby and Sapphire and then X and Y, just because of how fresh the games felt at the time. Both of these games, in my opinion, had the perfect lead up to release. Nintendo released just enough information to keep us excited, but also left enough unsaid that there was so much to explore when the games finally came out. And that's really what Pokemon is truly about. Exploration, discovery, and adventure. And I guess merchandise, but we don't talk about that. Number 4, Danganronpa. Holy crap. What a freaking series. I honestly didn't even give this game a second thought until a friend of mine not only insisted that I play it, but bought the first 2 games for me. Shout out to Nelson and Kelly. I love you guys. Thank you for making me play these. What happened from there is history. Dang It Grandpa is effectively a visual novel with a few little action/puzzle games mixed in. I honestly believe that this series is at its best going in completely blind, so I'm going to avoid talking about the story or individual characters the best I can. I'll probably make a video specifically dedicated to talking about the series, spoilers and all, so if you don't want to play the games but you still want to hear about it, stay tuned for when I finally get around to that series. Just trust me that when I say that if you're into psychological thrillers, you're gonna have a great time here. You can bet your bippy on it. That's right, your whole bippy. The whole thing. Bet it. It's safe. Dadgum Ron Paul is gripping, the characters are fun, and the core gameplay always makes you feel like a genius. If I had to pick a single game out of the series, I'd probably pick the first game, simply because everything felt fresh. Later games tend to fall into a bit of a formula, but even still, by the time you're 1 chapter into the first game, you're either gripped until the end of the series or you're out right then and there. These games aren't exactly the shortest out there, so these might be a bit of a slow burn, but God, are they worth it. Once I started playing this series, I literally could not put it down. Every waking moment of the few weeks it took me to get through all of the games and the accompanying anime in the series were constantly filled with suspense and wondering what the heck was going to happen next. So if you are into psychological thrillers and visual novels even a little bit, play this game. You will not regret even a single minute of your time with this series. Also, Kaede is bae, don't tell my fiance. Next game! Number 3, Telltale Games The Walking Dead Season 1. So I guess we're just gonna keep crying for a while. Does that sound good? Does that sound good to you guys? All right, great. Telltale Games The Walking Dead Season 1, God, that's a long name, is obviously based on the hit comic book turned TV series The Walking Dead. This game doesn't have any characters from the TV show or the comic books, but I didn't read the comic books, so I honestly I'm not sure about that part. I'm not the biggest fan of The Walking Dead TV show anymore, but the game is a masterpiece in the art of storytelling and getting you invested in the characters. The game centers on Lee, a man headed to prison that gets sucked into the zombie apocalypse because, you know, zombies and whatever. Lee then meets a little girl, Clementine, who you essentially take care of for the rest of the game. The game is packed full of impactful decisions that legitimately change the outcome of the story in major ways. I'm looking at you, Mass Effect! You sit there and think about what you've done. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system. While the other seasons of the game were still good, Season 1 is still seared into my memory and my heart. Later seasons focus on Clementine as she ends up going out on her own, but without you taking the role of a father figure, you don't get as attached to the characters around you. It's nice to see Clementine grow as a character, but without feeling like you need to protect her specifically, the series loses a bit of its charm. While the future seasons weren't as good as I just mentioned, Season 1 is still absolutely phenomenal. You can stop after Season 1 because it ends in a way that is rather final, but you can continue to play more if you like. I just think Season 1 is a must play. I think everyone should play Season 1. Go play Season 1. Go do it. Come on. Play Season 1. Please? For me? All right, fine. Next game. Number 2, Psychonauts. Putting Psychonauts in second place was not a choice I made easily. Psychonauts was my favorite game of all time for close to a decade until, of course, First Place came along. Don't worry, we'll get to that soon. Psychonauts is about a carnival acrobat named Rasputin who has psychic powers and runs away to a psychic summer camp. There, he meets a cast of simply unique and bizarre characters that he more or less befriends while he undercovers the spooky goings-on of Whispering Rock's psychic summer camp. As somebody who personally identified with Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy as a kid, these characters were just as weird as I felt. The character and stage design is full of imperfections, and that's the point. Everything in this game is imperfect, and that's on purpose. Psychonauts acts as a reminder that nothing is perfect. Everyone is screwed up in some way, and that's fine. We all have emotional baggage to deal with, and that just makes us more human. One example, and my personal favorite level, is when you visit an insane asylum and you travel into the mind of the security guard. The world is twisted yet connected, reflecting the character's mental state and obsession with the Milkman conspiracy. As you travel through this world, you learn about what made the character this way and what experiences shaped his mental state. This is literally a peek into the character, cementing the fact that these absolutely could be real people. I honestly found it shocking, and I still find it shocking, that this game wasn't and isn't more widely played. This freaking broke my heart as a kid. I immediately fell in love with the world and the characters and was crestfallen to have learned that the game was a complete financial failure on release. Even with the consistently amazing reviews of players and critics alike, it seemed that the game was just too weird to be financially successful, selling less than 100,000 copies around release. However, once the game was released on Steam and started picking up, well, steam, it's now considered a cult classic, and for good reason. Psychonauts is simply full of charm, humor, and obvious, genuine care from Double Fine, the creators. I have a weird relationship with Double Fine as of the time I'm making this video, so I'll probably make a video about Double Fine and talking about them. But look, I urge you, no, I beg you to go get this game on Steam for $10. What does it cost now? $10? It's $10? Okay, great. It's $10. It's not the longest game in history either, so if you don't like it, then oh well, you played a game you weren't fond of. But please, I beg you, go play Psychonauts. Please, for me, play Psychonauts for me. Play Psychonauts for your good old YouTuber friend Mark, please. Please, go play Psychonauts. Go play Psychonauts. Psychonauts 2 is coming out next year, 2020. Can't wait. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be, hopefully, amazing. Game 1? Let's talk about Game 1. And finally, my favorite game of all time, Persona 5. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. All right, fine. We'll talk about Persona 5. Freaking Persona 5. I had no expectations going into this game, and I didn't even really know it existed until shortly after it came out. I had never played a game in the series before, but what a start. Everything in this game just comes together in the most perfect way. The music, the characters, the gameplay, the story, the style. There's not a single part of this game that I don't absolutely adore. As far as the gameplay goes, think visual novel meets Pokemon. The core gameplay of Persona can really be split into two different sections. A lot of the game is very similar to a visual novel. You're going to get a lot of story, you're going to get a lot of time with the other characters to really learn who they are and build those relationships. And then the other half, however, is much more similar to Pokemon. These sections are pretty classic JRPG dungeon crawlers, where you navigate the inner psyches of the villains in the game and make them repent their wicked ways, all the while collecting creatures called personas and using them as part of your attack repertoire. But the main thing that really sucked me into Persona is the story and the characters. The story is something of pure freaking magic. I was immediately hooked and even shed a few tears only a couple hours into the game. You're a high school student. All right, Japan, we get it. High schoolers are cool, fine. Expelled from school because, get this, you prevent a woman from being assaulted. Yeah, you heard me right. You are then transferred to Shujin Academy, where you make friends and change the world by going into people's, I guess, minds, and changing the way they see the world from the inside out. Is the writing a little cheesy sometimes? Yeah, but the way the story and the characters made me feel is unlike any other game I've ever played. And the music, don't even get me started on the music! Every song in this game perfectly accompanies what's going on at that exact moment. Every song just gets straight to the point and gives you a solid kick in the feels. The music is so good in this game that they made dancing game remixes with music from the game that's been remixed, and I bought those too. I don't even care. The remixes are good, the core music's good, everything's just, oh my god. I just need a second. Oh, the music is so good. The music has like these awesome mixes between like during the visual novel sections, it's got like this cool, almost lo-fi style, very relaxing music that really makes you feel a very specific way. And then when you're in battle, when you're in the worlds, the music just perfectly accompanies whatever the theme of the world is. When you're fighting the monsters, it feels like you're a badass and you know, you're shooting them and you're doing magic attacks and pachow, pachow! I would 100% dead serious, unironically, play some of these songs at my wedding. I absolutely would, and I'm glad Lindsay's not here because she'd probably roll her eyes at me. But look, I would if I could. I would play some Persona 5 jams. Don't think I wouldn't, because I would. All right, so I've kind of gone off on a tangent here. I gotta bring it back in. We gotta get refocused on, you know, talking about the game and not just gushing about the music. So let's talk about how unbelievably good of a value this game is. I know I haven't really talked about this in the video yet, but like this game is just a really, really good value. It's so worth it. It's so worth it. Here, let me tell you why. My first playthrough of Persona 5 took me 140, yes, 140 hours, and I went back and I played it a second time. It's that good. For whatever price you're paying for it, unless you're paying for some reason like $150, you're getting like 3 hours of entertainment per dollar. You don't get that kind of value like anywhere. I know that's kind of a weird thing for me to talk about, but I just wanted, I needed to segue into how long the game was because I love the game so much that I played it. I spent 200 hours playing it. I guess with all this said, I should also mention that there is an upgraded version of Persona 5 coming out next year in the US called Persona 5 The Royal. The game's going to include a few extra characters, an extra party member, and even a third semester to go through. So while I've already played the game 2 times, I'm probably going to find time to play it a third. I know that there are going to be a few of you out there that say Persona 3 or Persona 4 are better, but I just simply haven't played them. I've tried playing Persona 4 Golden a few times on stream before, but when I'm streaming, I don't really feel like I can give the game the appropriate attention it deserves, while also giving my audience the appropriate attention they deserve as well. So because of that, I haven't really played any of the other Persona games, but I sure would love to someday. So, there you have it. Those are my 10 favorite games of all time. The thing that all of these games have in common, though, is that they all teach us life lessons. Rock Band teaches us to dream big. One Piece teaches us to chase those dreams. Oblivion teaches us that the world is a big place, and Star Fox that you'll never know what you'll find by looking just a little bit harder. Shadow of the Colossus teaches us that there is no challenge too large to conquer, and Pokemon to cherish those that assist us on our journeys. Danganronpa and Walking Dead teach us to appreciate the people in our lives because we'll never know when they won't be around. Psychonauts teaches us that we're all weird and that is perfect. And lastly, Persona teaches us that the world is often going to try to tear us down, but we have to keep fighting for what we know is right. Video games aren't just entertainment. They have the ability to let us have these experiences firsthand by putting us into the game and having them happen directly to us. When we become champions, when we save the galaxy, when we change the world, these are things that we did, and we get to experience all of the glory and hardship along the way. Video games can help us grow as people and help us learn more about the world without having to have the high real-life stakes that some of these situations have. My life is certainly better for having video games be a part of them, and without them, I honestly don't know who I would be as a person today. Would you be willing to listen to a dude on YouTube talk about his favorites for how many minutes? If you didn't genuinely care about video games, I don't know, I'm not your dad, but make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. Maybe videos about specific games. Definitely some more top 10 videos. Next time we'll have to do something more unique though. Maybe top 10 video games that feature clowns. No one's done that, right? Damn it!